the beginning, it was just a game. When Minecraft was released to the public in 2011, nobody thought it would become a digital economy worth millions of dollars. It was simple. You placed blocks. You broke blocks. You built houses, castles, farms, and entire cities made of tiny cubes. The graphics were basic. The world was square. The characters had no voices, but something about it felt different. Minecraft was not just a game you played. It was a world you could shape. And that small difference changed everything. Most games tell you what to do. They give you missions, they give you goals, they give you a story. Minecraft gave you freedom. You could build anything you wanted. You could survive against monsters, or you could create giant cities in creative mode without worrying about danger. But the real magic started when players began playing together. Multiplayer servers changed the game forever. Anyone could host a server. Anyone could invite friends. Soon, strangers from all over the world were building together in shared worlds. And that is when Minecraft stopped being just a game. It became a community. Servers began small. A group of friends playing after school. A YouTuber inviting fans to join. A teenager renting a cheap hosting service to create their own online world. But over time, servers became bigger, more complex, more organized. Some servers had thousands of players online at the same time. Some servers built full economies inside the game. You could earn in-game money. You could buy land. You could open shops. You could trade with other players. It looked like a game, but it felt like real life. At first, everything stayed inside the game. In-game money was just numbers, coins, diamonds, emeralds. But server owners quickly realized something important. Players wanted advantages. They wanted special ranks. They wanted cool titles next to their names. They wanted better gear. They wanted access to exclusive areas. And they were willing to pay real money for it. So server owners added something new. Microtransactions. For $5, you could get VIP. For $20, you could get Elite. For $100, you could get Legend rank. These ranks gave you perks, special abilities, faster progress, sometimes power over other players, and people paid. They paid a lot. Here's what made this world unusual. Many server owners were not companies. They were teenagers. Some were 14, some were 16. Some had never taken a business class. But suddenly, they were managing thousands of players, payment systems, staff teams, moderators, developers, monthly revenue in the tens of thousands. It didn't feel like a business. It felt like running a giant online clubhouse. But the money was real, very real. Around the same time, Minecraft exploded on YouTube. Creators posted survival series, challenge videos, server highlights, funny moments. Millions watched. Some YouTubers became celebrities. Servers that partnered with YouTubers grew fast. If a popular creator joined your server, thousands of fans followed. And with more players came more purchases, more ranks, more cosmetic items, more in-game advantages. It started to look like tech startups, except many were still run by teenagers. No strong regulations, no financial oversight, no audits, just PayPal accounts, Stripe accounts, and trust. Lots of trust. Here's where things get complicated. Was selling in-game ranks legal? Yes. Was selling virtual currency legal? Usually. But what about investments? What about promising profit shares? What about telling players they could earn money by supporting a server? The rules were not clear. Different countries had different laws. Most players were minors. Most payments were small. No one expected millions to be involved. And because no one expected it, no one watched closely. Inside gaming communities, a new mindset was growing. Young players were learning how to code plugins, how to design graphics, how to market on social media, how to grow Discord communities. Some called it entrepreneurship. Others called it hustle culture. If you could run a server well, you were admired. If you made money from it, you were respected. Making money online became cool, and that is where ambition enters the story. He did not look like a criminal. He was smart, quiet, helpful. He understood the system better than most. He knew how servers made money. He knew how players thought. He knew how to gain trust. He started small, helping manage servers, advising owners, offering technical improvements. People liked him. He was calm, confident, professional for his age, and most important, he talked like someone who understood business. Reputation is everything online. He built his carefully. He joined staff teams. He solved problems. He stayed up late fixing bugs. He spoke politely in community chats. When conflicts happened, he acted mature. Slowly, people began recommending him. If you need help growing your server, talk to him. He understands monetization. He's trustworthy. That word, trustworthy. In a world built on digital promises, that word is gold. By now, Minecraft servers were more than hobbies. They were ecosystems. Money flowed in daily. Parents entered credit card details, kids bought ranks, streamers promoted features. But behind the scenes, most systems were fragile. Few contracts, few legal protections, loose agreements made in Discord calls. If someone wanted to manipulate the system, it would not be hard. And someone was watching closely, learning, waiting. The idea of a $16.5 million scam inside a block game sounded ridiculous. It felt impossible. How could a pixel world create real financial disaster? But that was exactly why it was possible. Because nobody thought it was serious. It was just Minecraft. Just kids. Just fun. That assumption created blindness. And blindness creates opportunity. During this time, server profits were rising fast. New game modes attracted attention. Prison servers, factions, skyblock, roleplay worlds. Each mode had built-in systems designed to encourage spending, limited time offers, exclusive items, upgrades that made grinding easier. It mirrored real business models, scarcity, urgency, status. The psychology worked, revenue climbed. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Many servers did not separate personal money from business money. Revenue went straight into personal accounts. Taxes were often misunderstood, sometimes ignored. There were no CFOs, no legal teams, just young founders learning as they went. Some were responsible, some were not, and some saw opportunity in the chaos. If you wanted to design a large online scam, what would you need? A fast-growing market, young investors, little regulation, high trust, digital payments, international users, limited oversight. Minecraft servers had all of it. The world was not prepared for that reality. Our future scammer began thinking bigger. Why run one server when you could control many? Why earn thousands when you could earn millions? He understood something powerful. Server owners were tired. Running communities is stressful. Moderating players is exhausting. Managing updates is constant work. If someone offered to handle the business side, many would accept. And he was ready to offer exactly that. He created presentations, spreadsheets, revenue projections, growth plans. He spoke about scaling, about partnerships, about marketing funnels. To teenage server owners, he sounded like a genius. To younger players, he sounded like an adult. To adults, he sounded ambitious. He never rushed, never pressured. He built trust slowly. That was his real skill. At this point, nothing illegal had happened. No money stolen, no promises broken. Just preparation, just positioning, just reputation. But behind the calm surface, something was forming. An idea. An empire built not just on blocks, but on belief. And belief is powerful. Because when people believe in you, they stop asking hard questions. They stop checking details. They assume safety. The golden age of Minecraft markets created enormous opportunity. Opportunity for creativity. Opportunity for wealth. Opportunity for growth. But also, opportunity for deception. And as the servers grew, as the money increased, as trust deepened, the stage was set. The world of blocks had unknowingly built the perfect foundation for one of the largest scams in gaming history, and the person at the center of it was ready. By the time he decided to think bigger, he already understood something important. In the world of Minecraft, power did not come from strength. It came from trust. If players trusted you, they stayed. If server owners trusted you, they listened. If investors trusted you, they gave you money. And he was very good at earning trust. He did not begin by asking for control. He began by offering help. He joined staff teams quietly. He fixed small problems. He optimized servers so they ran smoother. He suggested small changes that increased player activity. When a server crashed, he stayed up late helping to fix it. When a moderator was overwhelmed, he stepped in calmly. He did not look ambitious. He looked dependable, and that made people relax around him. While helping others, he studied everything. He watched how money flowed. He watched how owners handled payments. He noticed something surprising. Most server owners did not understand their own numbers. They knew roughly how much they made each month, but they did not track. Refund rates, chargebacks, advertising, return, long-term player value. He understood that better data meant more control, and control meant power. Most server owners spoke like gamers. He spoke like a businessman. He used words like conversion rate, revenue stream, optimization, long-term sustainability. To teenagers running servers from their bedrooms, this sounded impressive. He showed them spreadsheets. He created clean charts. He predicted growth. Even if the numbers were simple, the presentation felt professional. Professionalism creates confidence. Confidence creates trust. Eventually, one server owner gave him more responsibility, not ownership, just access. Access to payment dashboards, access to analytics, access to staff channels. That was all he needed. He began making suggestions. Lower this price slightly. Bundle these items together. Create limited time offers. Revenue increased, not by accident. He understood player psychology. Scarcity makes people act fast. Exclusive ranks feel valuable. Public leaderboards encourage spending. When money increased, the owner became grateful. Gratitude deepens trust. Success spreads quickly in online communities. Soon, other server owners noticed the growth. They asked questions. How did you increase sales? Who handles your monetization? His name came up, and he always responded the same way. I just help where I can. Humility made him look safe. Soon he was advising 2 servers, then 3, then 5. Each one gave him more access, more information, more influence. At some point, helping quietly was not enough. He needed something bigger, so he created a brand. Not a loud one, not flashy, but professional. A consulting name, a simple logo, a clean website. It presented him as someone who specialized in growing Minecraft servers. The website showed testimonials, revenue improvements, clean design, professional language. Even if some testimonials were exaggerated, they looked real. And perception often matters more than truth. He did not work alone forever. He recruited developers, designers, marketing helpers. Some were paid small amounts. Some worked for experience. Some believed in his vision. He positioned himself as a leader, not aggressive, not demanding, just confident. He created private Discord servers where only trusted people joined. Inside those channels, plans were discussed, ideas shared, numbers reviewed. The empire was forming quietly. In the Minecraft world, influencers have power. A single YouTube video can bring thousands of players, so he targeted them carefully. He offered partnerships, revenue sharing, exclusive access. He promised smoother operations and better monetization. To influencers, that meant less stress and more income. Several agreed. Their servers grew faster than ever, and he took a percentage. Small at first, but across multiple servers, those percentages added up. One of his smartest moves was appearing transparent. He shared numbers openly in meetings. He explained strategies clearly. He answered questions patiently. He created reports that looked detailed. Owners felt informed. But what they did not realize was this: he controlled the data they saw. If numbers were adjusted slightly, no one questioned it. If projections were optimistic, they believed him. Because up to this point, he had delivered results. Success builds immunity. When someone has helped you make money, you are less likely to doubt them. Once he had enough reputation, he introduced a new idea: scaling. He explained that servers could grow much faster with outside investment, better hardware, more advertising, bigger development teams. He said, if we raise capital, we can triple revenue. The idea sounded modern, like a startup. Some owners were hesitant, but he had proof of past growth, and he spoke with confidence. So small investment offers began. He was careful. He did not ask for millions. He asked for manageable amounts: $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Investors were often older players, parents, small online entrepreneurs. He promised revenue shares. He showed projections. And in the beginning, he paid returns. That was important. Early investors received profits, maybe not huge ones, but enough to confirm legitimacy. When someone gets paid, they tell others. Word spreads. With multiple successful partnerships and early investor payouts, his reputation became strong. People said, he knows what he's doing. He's changed the Minecraft server scene. He's professional. In Discord calls, he sounded calm. He answered difficult questions without fear. Confidence reduces suspicion, and the more money that flowed, the more normal it felt. As trust increased, he moved faster. More servers joined his management. More investors offered funds. He centralized payment systems. He suggested combining resources for efficiency. This gave him something powerful: control over larger pools of money. Instead of separate small incomes, revenue began flowing through shared systems. Centralization made things easier. It also made things riskier. But no one thought about risk. They saw growth. At some point, signs began to show. He upgraded equipment, better computer, better setup, subtle displays of wealth. Nothing extreme, just enough to signal success. Online, success is magnetic. People want to work with winners. He never bragged openly, but small hints of prosperity strengthened his image. If he's successful, he must know what he's doing. That assumption protected him. Not everyone trusted him completely. Some staff members asked questions. Some moderators worried about transparency. He handled critics carefully, never aggressively. He invited them into private conversations. He showed selective data. He made them feel included. Most left those conversations reassured. In communities built on friendship, confrontation feels uncomfortable. He used that. Minecraft is global. Players from America, Europe, Asia, Australia. Investments and payments crossed borders easily. Digital payments made geography irrelevant. This international spread made tracking money more complex. Different laws, different tax systems, different protections. Complexity creates cover. The empire was no longer local. It was global. Inside his circle, one word became common: scale. Grow bigger. Move faster. Acquire more servers. He framed everything as opportunity. If we don't grow, someone else will. Fear of missing out is powerful. Server owners did not want to be left behind, so they agreed to bigger expansions. More marketing, more infrastructure, more investment rounds. Money flowed faster now, much faster. At the beginning, he was an advisor. Now, He was central. Servers depended on his systems. Investors depended on his reports. Influencers depended on his strategies. If he stepped away, operations would struggle. Dependence creates leverage, and leverage creates control. He did not need to steal yet. He was already powerful. But power can change people. At some point, small adjustments began. Numbers rounded differently. Expenses recorded slightly higher. Revenue projections adjusted. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious. Just small shifts. Because he controlled the data, no one noticed. And because early investors were still being paid, confidence remained high. Small manipulations test boundaries. If no one reacts, larger ones become easier. He began telling a bigger story. He said Minecraft servers were undervalued digital assets. He compared them to tech startups. He talked about future acquisitions. He painted a vision of expanding into new games, launching major brands, becoming a dominant network. Ambition excites people. People invest in vision as much as numbers, and his vision sounded bold. Money was only part of it. He built emotional loyalty, late-night calls, shared goals, private strategy sessions. He made partners feel like founders, like insiders in something revolutionary. When people feel part of something important, they defend it. They ignore warning signs. They protect leaders. The empire was no longer just financial. It was emotional. By now, millions of dollars had moved through his systems. Revenue, investments, partnership shares. Everything looked stable on the surface. But behind the scenes, he had begun blending funds, moving money between servers, using new investment money to stabilize older promises, just temporarily, just to smooth things out. At least, that's what he may have told himself. But temporary solutions can become habits, and habits can become traps at some point. Something changed inside him. Maybe he believed he was untouchable. Maybe he believed growth would always cover problems. Maybe he believed he deserved more. Success can distort judgment. When no one questions you, you begin to trust yourself too much. The empire felt unstoppable. Investors trusted him. Server owners relied on him. Influencers praised him. Money kept flowing. And in that moment, he crossed an invisible line. Not publicly, not dramatically, but internally. He realized he could take more, and no one would notice. By the end of this phase, he was no longer just a consultant. He was a central figure in a network of high-earning Minecraft servers. Revenue numbers were impressive. Investments were increasing. Communities were growing. From the outside, it looked like one of the most successful business stories in the Minecraft world. But empires built on control of information are fragile. Because if the information cracks, everything cracks. And soon, the money involved would grow larger than anyone imagined. The foundation had been built. The trust was solid. The systems were in place. Now, the machine was ready to run. And when it did, it would move faster than anyone could stop by now. Everything looked successful. Servers were growing. Investors were happy. Influencers were promoting. Money was flowing. From the outside, it looked like a smart business built inside Minecraft. But behind the scenes, the system was changing. Slowly, carefully, and almost invisibly. The scam did not begin with stealing. It began with control. He controlled payment systems, revenue reports, investment tracking, growth projections, staff access. When one person controls the numbers, they control the story. And when you control the story, you control belief. To understand the scam, we need to understand how Minecraft servers earn money. Most large servers sell ranks, VIP, elite, legend, in-game currency, special kits, limited items, loot crates, cosmetic effects. Players buy these with real money. Payments go through platforms like PayPal or Stripe. The money goes to the server owner, or in this case, through systems he managed. At first, each server had its own payment system. That meant separate dashboards, separate tracking, separate control. He suggested something new, a unified payment structure. It's more efficient, he said. It reduces fees. It simplifies accounting. It sounded smart. So several servers agreed. Revenue began flowing through shared systems, and those systems were controlled by him. Once revenue from multiple servers entered the same channels, something changed. Money became harder to separate. If server A had a slow week, but server B had a strong week, the numbers could balance. If an investor expected payment from one project, funds could be pulled from another temporarily. At first, this might have seemed harmless, just smoothing operations, just managing cash flow. But the more funds blended, the less transparent everything became. Investors were still receiving returns. That was important, because payouts create belief. He introduced new investment rounds, this time larger. Instead of $10,000 offers, now there were $100,000 offers. Instead of simple profit share, now there were structured agreements, revenue percentage contracts, promises of long-term passive income. He explained that the network of servers had combined strength, more players, more marketing, more growth potential. It sounded logical, and by now his reputation was strong, so people invested. Growth was real, but not always as large as reported. Here's how the illusion worked. He controlled analytics dashboards. He generated reports. He presented summaries. If revenue was $480,000, it might be shown as $520,000 with expected growth adjustments. If refunds were high, they were categorized differently. Small adjustments, nothing that looked like fraud, just optimistic reporting. But optimism stacked on optimism creates distortion, and distortion hides risk. At some point, revenue from servers was not enough to support promised returns. Instead of slowing down, he used new investment money to pay earlier investors. This is where the structure changed. It was no longer just business mismanagement. It became something else. A cycle. New money covered old promises. As long as new investors joined, the system survived. As long as growth continued, payouts continued. And because early investors were paid successfully, they encouraged others. The machine fed itself. There were several reasons the system stayed hidden. Payments were digital and complex. Investors were spread across countries. Returns were sometimes delayed but explained. Revenue still existed from real players. Reports looked professional. Most importantly, everyone wanted it to work. When people are making money, they do not search for problems. They defend success. As confidence grew, he increased investment sizes again. Now some deals were in the millions. Large investors joined. Some believed they were entering a powerful gaming network early. He used phrases like, next big digital media company, future of online entertainment, scalable ecosystem. The language sounded modern, familiar to tech investors, but this was still built inside Minecraft servers. And Minecraft servers can be unstable. Player interest changes fast. Trends shift quickly. But his projections assumed constant growth. That was dangerous. More servers were added to the network. Some were healthy. Some were struggling. Struggling servers required money to maintain player numbers. Advertising, development, promotions. Instead of cutting weak projects, he supported them using pooled funds. Because if a server collapsed, investor confidence would drop. So he kept everything alive, even if it meant moving money between projects. Behind the shared systems, private accounts existed. Some funds were moved quietly. Consulting fees increased. Management percentages adjusted. Expense reports grew larger. Because he controlled reporting, few questioned operational costs. Marketing expense, infrastructure upgrade, developer bonus. These labels justified large transfers, and investors rarely demanded raw transaction logs. They trusted summaries. Money changes behavior. At first, he stayed modest, but over time, purchases became bigger. Luxury items, travel, expensive technology. He did not show everything publicly, but those close to him noticed. When questioned, he explained it as success. And technically, there was success. Just not enough to support the scale of money moving. Scams often begin with intention, but sometimes they begin with pressure. As payouts increased, expectations increased. As expectations increased, risk increased. If revenue dipped slightly one month, he felt pressure to maintain returns. Instead of admitting lower performance, he adjusted numbers, just temporarily. Just until next month improved. But next month sometimes did not improve. So adjustments continued, and adjustments grew larger. The trap tightened. At a certain stage, the system became too big to shut down. If he admitted problems, investors would panic. If investors panicked, servers would collapse. If servers collapsed, everything would be exposed. So he continued, hoping growth would fix everything, hoping new projects would generate enough real profit, hoping momentum would save him. But momentum built on imbalance is unstable. By this stage, the total amount of money that had flowed through the network was enormous. Millions from player purchases, millions from investors. Combined totals approaching $16.5 million. Not all stolen, not all profit, but controlled by him. And when one person controls that much without oversight, risk becomes extreme. Small cracks began forming, payout delays became longer, excuses became more complex, reports became less detailed, questions were answered with frustration. Some investors asked for withdrawals, he delayed them, claimed temporary liquidity issues, blamed payment processors, blamed seasonal player drops. Some believed him, some did not. But because the system was global and digital, coordination among investors was weak. They did not compare notes quickly. That gave him time. Running such a system creates pressure. Late-night calls, constant explanations, balancing accounts, moving funds carefully, fear of exposure. The empire that once felt powerful now felt heavy, but he could not step away. Too many promises, too many numbers, too much trust placed in him, trust that he had turned into leverage. When pressure rises, some slow down. He accelerated, new offers launched, new partnerships announced, new expansion plans shared publicly, confidence displayed loudly. Because doubt spreads quickly online, he needed momentum. As long as growth appeared strong, fear stayed quiet. Eventually, simple math catches up. If returns promised are higher than real profits, the gap grows. If expenses increase but revenue slows, the gap widens. And when the gap becomes too large, no amount of new investment can fully cover it. That moment was approaching. At its peak, the system relied on three things: continuous new investors, stable player spending, absolute trust in his reports. If anyone failed, everything would shake. And soon, all three would begin to weaken. Players moved to new games. Investors asked harder questions. Staff members noticed inconsistencies. The machine was still running, but it was overheating. And overheating machines eventually break. By the time the numbers were examined later, the estimated total involved reached around $16,500,000. That number shocked the community, because Minecraft felt harmless, childlike, simple. But behind those pixel blocks, real money had moved. Real savings, real investments, real trust. And now, the foundation was unstable. The money machine that once looked like genius business strategy was revealed to be something else. A structure built on shifting numbers, on blended funds, on recycled investments, on controlled information. And when the cracks finally widened, the fall would be fast. For a long time, everything looked strong. The servers were active, players were spending money, investors were receiving updates. Growth charts looked impressive, but strong structures do not collapse all at once. They crack first, and the cracks began small. It started with something simple: a late payment. An investor expected a return on the 1st of the month. It arrived on the 5th. He apologized. Payment processor delay. That sounded normal. Digital payments sometimes fail. The investor accepted the excuse, but the next month, another delay happened. This time it arrived on the 10th. Again, there was an explanation. Temporary liquidity issue. Still believable. But patterns matter, and patterns were forming. Inside the private Discord channels, moderators and developers began asking questions. Revenue reports looked different, less detailed, graphs without raw data, summaries without breakdowns. When someone asked for full transaction logs, the response was calm but firm. That information is internal. Trust the reporting system. Most staff members were young. They did not want conflict. They believed him. But doubt had entered the room, and doubt spreads quietly. Players began requesting refunds more often. Some felt that server updates were slowing. Some believed new features were delayed too long. Chargebacks started appearing. Chargebacks are dangerous. When a player disputes a payment, the platform reviews the transaction. Too many chargebacks can freeze accounts. He reassured everyone. It's normal fluctuation. But behind the scenes, frozen funds caused pressure. Money that should have paid investors was locked temporarily. And when money gets locked, gaps appear. One investor requested a large withdrawal, not profit. Principal. They wanted their original investment back. That request was harder to manage. The money was no longer sitting untouched. It had been blended, moved, used to cover other obligations. He delayed the withdrawal, promised payment soon. Days passed, weeks passed. The investor grew impatient, and frustration turns into investigation. Online investors often act alone, but this time a few began talking. Private messages, small group chats. They compared payment dates, compared returns, compared excuses. Patterns matched. Delays were happening across multiple accounts. That realization was dangerous, because once investors coordinate, secrecy weakens. Someone inside the inner circle grew uncomfortable. Maybe they felt guilty. Maybe they felt afraid. Maybe they felt betrayed. Private messages were leaked. Screenshots appeared. Not proof of theft, but proof of confusion. Messages showing internal uncertainty. Messages discussing cash flow problems. When screenshots go public, trust breaks faster than numbers. The community began whispering. A few brave users posted public questions. Why are payouts delayed? Why are reports missing details? Why were promised updates not released? He responded calmly at first, explaining temporary issues, promising transparency soon. But more questions followed. And with every response, scrutiny increased. The kingdom was no longer silent. At the same time, player numbers dipped. Trends shift quickly in gaming. New games release. Attention moves. Lower player numbers mean lower purchases. Lower purchases mean lower revenue. Lower revenue means less money to cover promises. The machine needed constant fuel. Now the fuel was decreasing. Private meetings became more intense. Investors demanded clarity. Some threatened legal action. He insisted everything was under control. He showed projections, future growth charts, planned expansions. But belief was weaker now. And when belief weakens, numbers are questioned harder. One partner server decided to separate. They wanted full control again. They requested complete financial records. This was dangerous. Full records would reveal fund blending. Delays increased. Documents were promised, but not delivered. The partner grew suspicious. And when one partner leaves loudly, others listen. Online communities move fast. Whispers became Reddit threads. Threads became Twitter posts. Twitter posts became YouTube commentary. The narrative changed. From successful Minecraft entrepreneur to possible scam, that shift was powerful. Because reputation had been his strongest shield. Now it was cracking. He tried to calm the situation. Public statements, reassurance posts, announcements about system upgrades. He blamed technical errors, blamed sudden economic shifts, blamed external factors. But the explanations were no longer enough. Investors wanted proof, not promises. Eventually, payouts stopped completely. Temporarily, he said. Just until restructuring finished. But temporary silence in finance creates fear. Investors calculated. If returns stopped now, how much was still missing? Some realized their principal had never truly been separated. The numbers did not add up, and math does not lie. A few larger investors hired lawyers. Formal letters were sent, deadlines were given, demands for full accounting records. Cross-border digital crime is complex, but money leaves trails, especially millions of dollars. Pressure intensified. The empire was no longer under quiet doubt. It was under open challenge. Players began leaving servers, moderators resigned, developers distanced themselves publicly, influencers deleted promotional videos. Silence replaced excitement. Where once there were announcements of growth, now there were statements of concern. Trust collapsed faster than revenue ever grew. Then came the moment everyone remembers. A public statement. Not confident, not bold. Careful. He admitted mismanagement, admitted cash flow mistakes, but denied intentional fraud. He promised repayment plans, long-term restructuring. But by then, confidence was gone. When trust breaks completely, words lose power. One by one, major servers shut down. Maintenance mode, then permanent offline. Websites disappeared, payment portals closed, Discord servers locked. The digital kingdom dissolved quietly. No dramatic explosion, just silence. And silence can be louder than chaos. As investigators and investors compared numbers, the total became clearer. Around $16.5 million had moved through the system. Some lost through poor management. Some lost through blended funds. Some potentially taken. The exact breakdown was difficult. Digital money moves fast. But one thing was certain. The empire was gone. Behind the numbers were real people. Parents who invested savings. Young adults who believed in digital entrepreneurship. Developers who worked for months expecting bonuses. Players who spent allowances and birthday money. It was not just a financial collapse. It was emotional. Trust in online communities weakened. Trust in Minecraft server economies faded. The golden age felt over. After the collapse, he became quieter. Fewer posts, fewer messages. Some claimed he was cooperating legally. Some claimed he vanished completely. In digital scandals, endings are rarely dramatic. Often they fade into uncertainty, but the damage remains. The fall of the empire showed something important. A block game can hold real money. A teenager can manage millions. Trust can be monetized. And without oversight, digital kingdoms can collapse overnight. The cracks began small. A late payment, a missing detail, a delayed report. But small cracks in financial systems grow quickly. And when the foundation is built on blended funds and recycled promises, collapse is not sudden. It is inevitable. The empire that once looked unstoppable had fallen, not because of one mistake, but because of many small ones, hidden behind confidence, protected by trust, powered by belief. Now the world was left asking, was it greed? Was it pressure? Was it ambition gone too far? Or was it always meant to end this way? When the servers went offline, the silence felt heavy. No announcements, no new updates, no payout confirmations, just unanswered messages. For many people, this was the moment reality became clear. The empire was not coming back. And now, everyone wanted answers. At first, there was confusion. Investors refreshed their dashboards. Players tried to reconnect to servers. Moderators checked private staff chats, but nothing changed. Then confusion turned into fear. Messages began to flood social media. Has anyone been paid? Is this temporary? Does anyone have contact with him? Some people still believed there was a technical explanation, but others already knew. This was not a glitch. Once fear settles, anger often follows. Investors who had trusted him felt betrayed. Some had invested small amounts. Others had invested life savings. One investor had put in money meant for a future business. Another had used savings meant for education. These were not just numbers on a screen. They were years of work. And now, they were possibly gone. Online forums filled with posts. Some were calm and investigative. Others were furious. Many people involved were young, teenagers, college students, young adults. Some had convinced their parents to invest. Others had hidden the investment. Now conversations were happening in living rooms. Parents asking, "How much did you send? When did this start? Why didn't you tell us?" These were painful talks. Trust had been broken not just online, but inside homes. In the early days after the collapse, people tried to contact him directly. Emails were sent, messages were delivered, phone calls were attempted. Some messages were read but not answered. Some accounts went silent completely. When someone disappears during a financial crisis, suspicion grows quickly. Silence feels like guilt, even if the truth is more complex. The larger investors did not wait long. Lawyers were contacted. Formal complaints were drafted. In some countries, fraud investigations were requested, but this case was not simple. The investors were spread across many countries. The servers operated online. Payments went through international processors. Jurisdiction became complicated. Which country handles the case? Where was the money technically held? Who has authority? These questions slowed progress. Financial investigators tried to trace the funds. Digital payments leave records. Transactions can be tracked. But when money moves through multiple accounts and across borders, the trail becomes tangled. Some funds had been spent. Some had been transferred. Some had been used to cover other obligations. It was not one single account holding $16.5 million. It was a network of flows, and untangling it would take time. Eventually, a public message appeared. It was long, careful. He admitted mistakes. He admitted mismanagement. He denied intentional theft. He claimed he had believed growth would fix everything. He said he never planned for it to collapse. He apologized. But apologies feel different when money is missing. Some people believed him. Some believed it was a calculated scam from the beginning. Others believed it started honest and turned into something darker. Truth can be hard to define in financial collapses. Online, two sides formed. One side said, "He is a criminal. He planned this. He manipulated everyone." The other side said, "He was overwhelmed. He made bad decisions under pressure. He thought he could fix it." The difference matters legally. Fraud requires intention. Mismanagement can look similar but is judged differently. But for victims, the difference does not always change the loss. Money loss hurts, but betrayal hurts more. Many people had defended him publicly. They had recommended him to friends. They had trusted his advice. Now they felt embarrassed, ashamed, guilty. Trust is powerful, and when trust is broken, it leaves emotional scars. Some investors said they would never invest online again. Some left the Minecraft community completely. The damage spread wider than just finances. Gaming news channels picked up the story. Headlines described a $16.5 million Minecraft scandal. Some reports exaggerated details. Some misunderstood the structure. But the core was clear. A digital empire inside a block game had collapsed. The story surprised many outsiders. How can a game involve that much money? But those inside the community were not surprised. They knew how large the economy had become. Now the world knew too. There were discussions about repayment plans, installment returns, asset liquidation, selling remaining servers. But the total gap was too large. Even if everything left was sold, it would not cover the losses. Some small repayments may have been attempted, but full recovery looked unlikely. Investors began accepting a painful reality. Most of the money was gone. Cross-border digital crime cases move slowly. Authorities must determine jurisdiction, collect digital evidence, request cooperation from payment companies, analyze financial records. This takes months, sometimes years. And if funds were already spent or moved through many accounts, recovery becomes harder. Even if a conviction happens, repayment is not guaranteed. The legal system punishes wrongdoing. It does not always restore loss. For him, life changed completely. Public reputation destroyed, online presence damaged, career prospects questioned. Even if he avoided prison, trust was gone. In digital industries, reputation is everything. Without it, rebuilding is difficult. Some former partners refused all contact. Others cut ties quietly. The empire had not only collapsed financially, it collapsed socially. Minecraft server owners began changing behavior. More transparency, separate accounts, better accounting software, written contracts, clearer agreements. The scandal became a warning story, a lesson shared in private Discord channels. Do not centralize everything under one person. Always request full records. Never rely only on summaries. Painful lessons are often the strongest teachers. Regular players also suffered. Servers they loved disappeared. Communities they built friendships in were gone. Some had spent hundreds on ranks and items. Now those items meant nothing. Virtual status vanished. Digital homes erased. It showed something important. Online worlds can feel permanent, but they are fragile. Months later, discussions still continued. New investors asked questions about old servers. Parents warned children about online investments. YouTube commentators used the story as a case study. The number $16.5 million became symbolic. It represented ambition, risk, and unchecked trust. This question never fully settled. Some evidence suggested early honesty. Early payouts were real. Growth was real. But somewhere along the line, the system changed. Maybe pressure pushed him. Maybe greed grew. Maybe he believed he could fix it until it was too late. Sometimes scams begin with intention. Sometimes they begin with fear of failure. Either way, the result can look the same. In the end, most investors did not recover their full money. Some recovered small amounts. Some wrote it off as loss. Some continued legal battles. But the digital empire was gone forever. The Minecraft world moved on. New servers launched. New entrepreneurs appeared. But the story stayed in memory. A reminder that even in simple block worlds, real money carries real risk. Unlike dramatic crime stories, this one did not end with sirens. No sudden arrest broadcast live. No public courtroom spectacle. Just slow legal processes, private settlements, online silence, and people learning to live with what happened. Sometimes the loudest part of a scandal is the collapse. After that, it becomes quiet. But quiet does not mean forgotten. The fallout left a message for everyone involved in digital communities. Trust is valuable, but it must be supported by systems. Transparency is important, but it must be verifiable. Growth is exciting, but it must be sustainable. When money moves faster than oversight, risk grows silently. And when belief replaces verification, collapse becomes possible. The empire built inside Minecraft had fallen. The servers were dark. The dashboards were empty. The promises were broken, and the community was left with a painful understanding. Even in a world made of blocks, the consequences are real. When everything was over, people asked one simple question. How could this happen inside a block game? How could something that started in Minecraft grow into a $16.5 million collapse? The answer is not simple. Because this story is not only about one person, it is about the world we now live in. Years ago, video games were entertainment only. You bought the game, you played it, that was it. But today, games are different. They have online servers, virtual items, digital currencies, microtransactions, competitive rankings, and most important, they have economies. Inside these economies, real money moves every day. Players buy skins, they buy upgrades, they buy status, and that money becomes income for someone. Sometimes a big company, sometimes a small team, sometimes just one person with a laptop. In the physical world, money is connected to objects, houses, cars, factories. In digital worlds, money connects to belief. Belief that a server will stay online. Belief that a rank has value. Belief that an investment will grow. Digital value exists because people agree it exists. And when people stop agreeing, value disappears instantly. That is what happened here. When trust vanished, the digital empire collapsed overnight. One important part of this story is age. Many people involved were very young. Teenagers running businesses, young adults managing thousands of users. This is new in history. In the past, managing millions of dollars required formal education licenses, physical offices, legal oversight. Now, someone with coding skills and internet access can build an economy from their bedroom. This is powerful, but it is also dangerous, because skill in gaming does not always mean skill in finance. Online systems grow fast. A YouTube video can bring 10,000 new users overnight. A viral post can double revenue in a week. But fast growth creates pressure. When growth slows, expectations remain high. And when expectations are high, leaders may take risks to protect their image. The Minecraft empire grew quickly, but it was not built with strong financial foundations. When pressure increased, cracks formed. And because everything was digital, the collapse happened just as fast. Traditional businesses face regulation, audits, taxes, reporting requirements. But many online gaming communities operate in gray areas, especially when run by young people. There were few external checks, no required audits, no mandatory transparency, no professional oversight. Without oversight, mistakes grow larger before being noticed. And sometimes mistakes turn into deception. Why did so many people believe him? Because online communities create strong emotional bonds. When you play with someone daily, talk with them, build projects together, you feel connected. That connection feels like friendship. And friendship feels like safety. But digital friendship does not replace financial verification. Trust is not a financial system. It is an emotion. And emotions can be manipulated. Inside Minecraft, buying a rank feels fun. It feels like supporting a server you love. But when investments are introduced, the tone changes. Now it is not just support. It is financial expectation. And mixing community culture with investment promises is risky. Because players do not think like investors, and investors do not think like players. When those two roles mix, confusion happens. This story is not isolated. In recent years, digital markets have exploded. Cryptocurrency, NFTs, online startups, virtual assets. Many promise high returns. Many grow quickly. Some succeed, some collapse. The pattern is similar. Excitement, rapid growth, strong belief, little oversight, sudden collapse. The Minecraft empire followed the same pattern. It just happened inside a game. One clear lesson is this: transparency must be verifiable. Reports are not enough. Screenshots are not enough. Words are not enough. Real systems need independent audits, clear separation of funds, open accounting, written agreements. If even one of these had existed strongly, The collapse might have been smaller. One person controlled too much. Payment systems, data, reporting, investment tracking. When power concentrates in one place, risk increases. Even honest people can make dangerous decisions under pressure. Decentralization protects communities. Shared access, clear checks, multiple approvals. These systems may feel slow, but they prevent disasters. Ambition can build amazing things. Minecraft servers themselves are proof of that, but ambition without limits can become destructive. The desire to grow bigger, faster, stronger. If growth becomes more important than stability, risk increases. Sometimes the smartest decision is to slow down, but slowing down feels like losing in competitive online spaces. And so many leaders choose speed instead. Communities also play a role. When leaders are praised constantly, questioning becomes uncomfortable. When someone is seen as a genius, criticism feels like betrayal. Healthy communities allow hard questions. They welcome audits. They do not attack people who ask for proof. In this story, early critics were dismissed. That allowed problems to grow. Another lesson is for families. Many parents did not understand how much money was involved. They saw Minecraft as harmless. But today, digital spaces can involve serious financial decisions. Education about online risk is important. Not fear, but awareness. Young people need guidance when dealing with real money online. Digital economies will not disappear. They will grow. More games will include marketplaces. More virtual assets will exist. More young entrepreneurs will build online businesses. This is not negative. It is powerful, but with growth must come responsibility. Better financial education, better legal clarity, better oversight systems. The future can be stronger if lessons are learned. Some believe this collapse was always going to happen. Others believe it could have been prevented. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Early success was real, but systems were weak. When weak systems hold large amounts of money, failure becomes likely. Not always intentional, not always planned, but likely. At the center of this story is a person, a young individual who built something impressive, who gained trust, who handled millions, who faced pressure, and who made choices that led to collapse. It is easy to label someone as villain. It is harder to understand how small decisions, over time, can grow into disaster. The story is a warning not only about scams, but about unchecked growth and unmanaged pressure. The Minecraft world continues. New servers exist, new creators build communities, new entrepreneurs try again. But somewhere in those communities, this story is remembered. A reminder that digital money is real money. Trust is powerful but fragile. Growth must be supported by structure, and even in a world made of blocks, foundations matter. The $16.5 million number is large, but the real cost was trust. When trust disappears, communities fracture. Rebuilding trust takes longer than building profit. The fall of this digital empire showed something important about our time. We live in a world where teenagers can run global businesses, games can generate millions, communities can act like corporations, and belief can create value. But belief alone cannot protect value. Only structure, transparency, and accountability can. The Minecraft empire rose fast. It fell fast, and its story now lives as a quiet warning in the history of online economies. Not just about one scam, but about the fragile line between ambition and responsibility.